We begin with NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez. NBC's Dasha Burns is on the in Battleground, Michigan, after that big interview she had yesterday. And Ashley Parker, Washington Post senior national political correspondent. So, Gabe, let's start with you. This was a high-stakes interview for Harris. She didn't seem to do herself any harm, but there are some big questions about her record.
Yeah, certainly, Ryan. Look, that's what the Trump campaign is trying to focus on, the questions that remain about why Vice President Kamala Harris has changed her position on several things, including fracking, including immigration over the last several years since she ran for president in 2019. Back in 2019, raising her hand during one of those primary debates when she was asked whether she thought the border should be decriminalized. Now in her answer during yesterday's interview, saying that there needed to be consequences for illegally crossing the border. So that is one of the remaining questions. But you laid out some of that interview, and the Harris campaign says that it went extremely well in their view, that she did what she needed to do, that she answered those tough questions about her record. And also one other point, Ryan, that she was asked about that isn't getting quite as much as attention, but also showed another side of her during the DNC acceptance speech. You'll remember that she avoided talking about the historical nature of her candidacy, but there was that emotional moment with her great nieces that were there present at the convention, and of course that iconic photo of one of them. You see her right there looking up at Vice President Harris as she was delivering that speech. Harris was asked about that during this interview yesterday. Take a listen to what she said.
It's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then I'm in the front of the photograph, obviously speaking, and it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
So, Ryan, during the interview, she was also asked, and said so publicly for the first time, her reaction when President Biden actually called her and told the vice president that he was dropping out of the race. She said that she was just finished having breakfast with her family, that she was sitting down, getting ready to play a puzzle with her family members when she got that call, and her first reaction was to tell President Biden, "Are you sure?" Ryan.
Dasha, let's go now to that exclusive pull-aside you had with President Trump yesterday in Michigan. He did make some news, sparking some backlash from parts of his Republican base. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Ryan, he made a number of headlines on reproductive rights, which is an issue that he has long been saying is a problem for Republicans. Take a listen and we'll talk on the other side.
Under the Trump administration, we are going to be paying for that treatment. So we are paying for that treatment,
or we're going
for all Americans that get it, all Americans that need it. So we're going to be paying for that treatment, or we're going to be mandating that the insurance company pay.
In Florida, the state that you are a resident of, there's an abortion-related amendment on the ballot to overturn the 6-week ban in Florida. How are you going to vote on that?
Well, I think the 6-week is too short. It has to be more time, and so and I've told them that I want more weeks.
So you'll vote in favor of the amendment?
I'm voting that I am going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks.
So Ryan, saying there that a Trump administration, a second term, would cover all Americans who want IVF treatment. It's a pricey proposal. A typical IVF cycle costs about $20,000. But this comes in the context, Ryan, of a gender gap that we've seen in the polls. Vice President Harris leading significantly among female voters. And then the second part of that answer on the abortion ballot initiative in Florida, sparking backlash from some parts of his base that are concerned that he's going too far to the left on the abortion issue. So it's a tough line to walk for the former president. And again, an issue where he really has been trying to push the Republican Party in a different direction. Some parts of the base, though, don't want to go. Ryan.
Yeah, definitely that second part of the questioning to him causing a lot of concern among the most conservative parts of the Republican base. Ashley, let's go to you now. I mean, reproductive rights, absolutely going to be an issue when Harris and Trump debate for the first time on September 10th. The Harris team says that they're still pushing to have hot mics throughout the entire debate. They don't want the mics turned off in between questions. NBC News reporting that Harris's plan for the debate is trying to keep calm but get under Trump's skin. What more do we know about the debate prep and their plans?
Well, one thing that's a little ironic, of course, is that the Harris campaign and the Trump campaigns are now taking opposite sides of the hot mic issue. Then the campaign with Biden at the top of ticket and Trump took for the previous debate. But the view now from within the Harris camp, which may prove to be correct, is that something like hot mics would benefit her because it will remind voters one of the things they don't like about Trump, which is that he can come across, especially when faced with a woman and a woman of color, as bullying and aggressive and sometimes rambling and unhinged and chaotic. And that's something that you see in a hot mic, whereas muted mic sometimes can protect Trump from his own worst instincts. So that's what the Harris team wants. They say there are still negotiations ongoing, and they also point to Trump's own comments where he has said, I don't care, and they're trying to create, at least in the public, this appearance that Trump is fine with hot mics. It's his own advisors who are trying to overrule him because they don't trust him, because they want to protect him from himself, which is something that if Trump sees that, I think the thinking is it will get under his skin and prompt him to agree to this format that they believe will ultimately hurt him politically.
And Dasha, you got more news out of the former president in that interview yesterday. You got him on the record about Monday's incident at Arlington National Cemetery. He insists that the Gold Star families invited him and asked for photos. Let's play a portion of that.
It would be so great. Could we take a picture? I said, sure. I'm not thinking about a campaign. So I stood there and I said, if you'd like to have a picture, we can have a picture. If somebody did it, this was a setup by the people in the administration that, oh, Trump is coming to Arlington. That looks so bad for us. You know what looks bad? The way they pulled out of Afghanistan is a disgrace.
And Dasha, he also tried to claim that his campaign had no role in getting this out on the internet, even though it was their TikTok that amplified it more than anyone. Talk to me a little bit more about what the Trump campaign is saying about this incident.
Yeah, Ryan, I followed up on that, and I said, but your campaign put it out on their official TikTok. He claimed to have no knowledge of that. But I think one of the reasons this story continues to have legs is because of his history of comments that have been offensive to some military families, whether it was calling Senator John McCain not a war hero, whether it was a recent comments about the Medal of Honor versus the Medal of Freedom. This is kind of something that he keeps stepping into and now having to clean up again and again. And it'll be interesting to see how this impacts the veteran community that, of course, is such a critical part of the voter demographic, Ryan.